In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is the perception of contradictory information. Relevant items of information include a person's actions, feelings, ideas, beliefs, values, and things in the environment. Cognitive dissonance is typically experienced as psychological stress when persons participate in an action that goes against one or more of those things. According to this theory, when two actions or ideas are not psychologically consistent with each other, people do all in their power to change them until they become consistent. The discomfort is triggered by the person's belief clashing with new information perceived, wherein the individual tries to find a way to resolve the contradiction to reduce their discomfort. In When Prophecy Fails, a social and psychological study of a modern group that predicted the destruction of the world, 1956, and a theory of cognitive dissonance, 1957. Leon Festinger proposed that human beings strive for internal psychological consistency to function mentally in the real world. A person who experiences internal inconsistency tends to become psychologically uncomfortable and is motivated to reduce the cognitive dissonance. They tend to make changes to justify the stressful behavior, either by adding new paths to the cognition causing the psychological dissonance, rationalization, or by avoiding circumstances and contradictory information likely to increase the magnitude of the cognitive dissonance. Confirmation bias. Coping with the nuances of contradictory ideas or experiences is mentally stressful. It requires energy and effort to sit with those seemingly opposite things that all seem true. Festinger argued that some people would inevitably resolve dissonance by blindly believing whatever they wanted to believe. Paradigms. There are 4 theoretic paradigms of cognitive dissonance. The mental stress people suffer when exposed to information that is inconsistent with their beliefs, ideals or values. Belief disconfirmation, induced compliance, free choice, and effort justification, which respectively explain what happens after a person acts inconsistently relative to their intellectual perspectives, what happens after a person makes decisions, and what are the effects upon a person who has expended much effort to achieve a goal. Common to each paradigm of cognitive dissonance theory is the tenet: people invested in a given perspective shall, when confronted with contrary evidence, expend great effort to justify retaining the challenged perspective. Belief disconfirmation. The contradiction of a belief, ideal, or system of values causes cognitive dissonance that can be resolved by changing the challenged belief. Yet, instead of affecting change, the resultant mental stress restores psychological consonance to the person by misperception, rejection, or refutation of the contradiction. Seeking moral support from people who share the contradicted beliefs or acting to persuade other people that the contradiction is unreal. 1, 2, 3. The early hypothesis of belief contradiction presented in When Prophecy Fails, 1956, reported that faith deepened among the members of an apocalyptic religious cult. Despite the failed prophecy of an alien spacecraft soon to land on Earth to rescue them from earthly corruption, at the determined place and time the cult assembled, they believed that only they would survive planetary destruction. Yet the spaceship did not arrive to Earth. The confounded prophecy caused them acute cognitive dissonance. Had they been victims of a hoax? Had they vainly donated away their material possessions? To resolve the dissonance between apocalyptic, end-of-the-world religious beliefs and earthly, material reality, most of the cult restored their psychological consonance by choosing to believe a less mentally stressful idea to explain the missed landing, that the aliens had given planet Earth a second chance at existence, which, in turn, empowered them to redirect their religious cult to environmentalism and social advocacy to end human damage to planet Earth. On overcoming the confounded belief by changing to global environmentalism, the cult increased in numbers by proselytism, induced compliance. In The Cognitive Consequences of Forced Compliance 1959, the investigators Leon Festinger and Merrill Carlsmith asked students to spend an hour doing tedious tasks, e.g., turning pegs a quarter turn, at fixed intervals. The tasks were designed to induce a strong, negative, mental attitude in the subjects. Once the subjects had done the tasks, the experimenters asked one group of subjects to speak with another subject, an actor, and persuade that imposter subject that the tedious tasks were interesting and engaging. Subjects of one group were paid $20. Those in a second group were paid $1 and those in the control group were not asked to speak with the imposter subject. At the conclusion of the study, when asked to rate the tedious tasks, the subjects of the second group, paid $1, rated the tasks more positively than did either the subjects in the first group, paid $20, or the subjects of the control group. The responses of the paid subjects were evidence of cognitive dissonance, forbidden behavior paradigm, in the effect of the severity of threat on the devaluation of forbidden behavior. 1963, a variant of the induced compliance paradigm, by Elliott Aronson and Carl Smith, examined self-justification in children. Children were left in a room with toys, including a greatly desirable steam shovel, the forbidden toy. Upon leaving the room, the experimenter told one half of the group of children that there would be severe punishment if they played with the steam shovel toy and told the second half of the group that there would be a mild punishment for playing with the forbidden toy. All of the children refrained from playing with the forbidden toy, the steam shovel. Later, when the children were told that they could freely play with any toy they wanted, the children in the mild punishment group were less likely to play with the steam shovel, the forbidden toy. Despite the removal of the threat of mild punishment, the children threatened with mild punishment had to justify to themselves why they did not play with the forbidden toy. The degree of punishment was insufficiently strong to resolve their cognitive dissonance. The children had to convince themselves that playing with the forbidden toy was not worth the effort. Free choice. In the study Post-Decision Changes in Desirability of Alternatives, 1956, 225 female students rated domestic appliances and then were asked to choose one of two appliances as a gift. The results of the second round of ratings indicated that the women students increased their ratings of the domestic appliance they had selected as a gift and decreased their ratings of the appliances they rejected. This type of cognitive dissonance occurs in a person who is faced with a difficult decision and when the rejected choice may still have desirable characteristics to the chooser. The action of deciding provokes the psychological dissonance consequent to choosing X instead of Y. Despite little difference between X and Y, the decision, I chose X, is dissonant with the cognition that there are some aspects of Y that I like. The study choice-induced preferences in the absence of choice. Evidence from a blind two-choice paradigm with young children and capuchin monkeys. 2010. Reports similar results in the occurrence of cognitive dissonance in human beings and in animals. Peer effects in pro-social behavior, social norms or social preferences. 2013. Indicated that with internal deliberation, The structuring of decisions among people can influence how a person acts. The study suggested that social preferences and social norms can explain peer effects in decision making. The study observed that choices made by the second participant would influence the first participant's effort to make choices, and that an equity aversion, the preference for fairness, is the paramount concern of the participants. Effort justification. Cognitive dissonance occurs to a person who voluntarily engages in physically or ethically unpleasant activities to achieve a goal. The mental stress caused by the dissonance can be reduced by the person exaggerating the desirability of the goal. In the effect of severity of initiation on liking for a group. 1956. To qualify for admission to a discussion group, two groups of people underwent an embarrassing initiation of varied psychological severity. The first group of subjects were to read aloud 12 sexual words considered obscene. The second group of subjects were to read aloud 12 sexual words not considered obscene. Both groups were given headphones to unknowingly listen to a recorded discussion about animal sexual behavior, which the researchers designed to be dull and banal. As the subjects of the experiment, the groups of people were told that the animal sexuality discussion actually was occurring in the next room. The subjects whose strong initiation required reading aloud obscene words evaluated the people of their group as more interesting persons than the people of the group who underwent the mild initiation to the discussion group. Applications in education. The management of cognitive dissonance readily influences the apparent motivation of a student to pursue education. The study Turning Play into Work. Effects of adult surveillance and extrinsic rewards on children's intrinsic motivation. 1975. Indicated that the application of the effort justification paradigm increased student enthusiasm for education with the offer of an external reward for studying. Students in preschool who completed puzzles based upon an adult promise of reward were later less interested in the puzzles than were students who completed the puzzle tasks without the promise of a reward.